All right, following another major rain event here in Martinsville, Virginia, Henry County. We had about an inch or so, inch and a half of rain in over a 2 or 3 hour period. Thunderstorm, lightning, all the works. And let's check on the earthworks. I'm Justin Hitt from Prosperity Homestead. I did a little repair over there straight ahead. I have not looked at it yet. You're going to see it with me. How exciting. One thing is also pretty exciting is the deer prints. Good old deer prints coming on through here. That tells me that area is a little soft, so I will not walk there. But I'm walking around the earthwork structure, which I put additional straw on top of, and I'm surveying the patterns. Now, we've talked about patterns in other shows, other podcasts. Patterns that we're looking for after an earthworks has been put into place is different things like channeling, where the water has come across the ground very quickly and maybe moved aside straw, and maybe cut a small channel in the soil itself. Areas of sediment where water has settled and the soil has fallen out in the water. Areas where water may have gone fast down the hill. Now again, when you have a huge rain coming in, the water's moving, it's accumulating, it's spreading out, and you want to be aware of that. There's something to be aware of when you have a pond. If you have a lot of sediment going into a pond, the pond will take up volume that could otherwise handle a storm surge. And so we want to be mindful of where all this soil goes. And as you can see, the soil is washing down here to our silt trap, which is catching a little bit of silt. That tells me that this area right here, we need to get established better in grass because it's a slope. But that means more mulch. My next load of mulch is probably going to, my next load of straw is probably going to come out here. So let's go on down across the bottom here. We've got some areas where we've got grass reestablishing. Now there's, I haven't limed any of this. I should be getting the lime on it as soon as possible, because that lime is going to help hold the soil. It's going to help the soil hold or release nutrients so the roots can hold the soil. Lime makes clay, the nutrients in clay, more biologically available to plants. It doesn't necessarily, clay doesn't necessarily have a lot of nutrients in it, but again, we want to make it more bioavailable. Now, the straw that I threw down the hill here, I could have done a better job of spreading it out, okay, because it just made a wet little mess. So I'm just going to grab it and throw it out in the middle here right now. I'm not really here for work. I want to check on this shelf that I made. Now here you go. Here's the tarps that were on there. I probably should carry those back to the truck. And then here is the shelf that I made. Remember, we cut the shelf out to get a stump out of the top bund. We reestablished a bund above the shelf. So the shelf is about access. It's about erosion control. And what we would see if I failed to do the job correctly is we would see a washout from here, because again, the water would accumulate on that shelf and it would then come down the hill here. We do not see that wash out, so it means it must have done a good job. But of course, the straw did most of the work, because we put the soil in place, we compacted it, we put the straw over top of it to kind of mend that wound. Be sure to click the link in the description below to see that video once it's posted online. We're over here, and again, here's another little clump of straw that I didn't spread out. I just kind of threw it off the top of the hill because I was running out of time. This straw in a clump is not helping anything. It needs to be spread out over the surface area to help us slow and spread water. The rest of the things look good. Now, that was a massive storm, so you can see more rocks exposed. So these rocks are going to get picked up, put into a stack to be used later in a building project. If they're in the way at all, which is probably not a problem, because that's just a couple trails. I'm looking over here. I see everything looks pretty good here. I would like to take some of these clumps and bumps out and throw them up the hill as we go. And then I also notice another big rock that's exposed. Now, a lot of folks, you see these permaculture videos where they install earthworks, and you see when it's all done, you got straw everywhere. It kind of looks like the project's done. It actually is not done. So remember what we talked about a while back. The rain water goes around the rocks, and as the surface area falls, the water will concentrate on the edges of the rocks, and therefore causing channeling or an increased force of the water. And so again, rocks like that big rock there needs to be picked out. This rock over here needs to be picked out. But now that I've showed you the video on how to create a shelf and how to go in there and maintain that kind of stuff, I can literally cut a shelf starting over here, across the middle there, grab that rock, throw it down the hill, come over here, grab this rock, throw it down the hill, come over here, grab this rock, throw it down the hill, and then depending on what's going on here, I'm done. That walking shelf can go all the way over to the ground. So I can go all the way over here to the silt fence and do a contour line all the way across this earthworks, removing those rocks. Now I send soil uphill, and those rocks I got to throw all the way down here into this area here, because the rocks, again, we don't want them at the top because they are going to cause problems. And then I come back and I have this cut shelf across here, kind of like what we did on the other side. And then I can simply just dump soil from the top and compact and fill that back in. Now remember, it doesn't matter if this earthworks is 5 feet tall or 50 feet tall or 500 feet tall. It's all the same. Now the taller you get though, the more shelves you want to have, and the shelves are going to be big enough to drive vehicles on it. And then the structural needs are going to have to be there, because you just can't mound clay 50 feet tall without some kind of structural things. And in many cases, if you were going to put a house on it, you're going to use geotextiles. If you're going to put other things on it, our agricultural earthworks are only 4 to 5 feet tall, maybe 10 feet tall at the most. And a lot of times they rely on clay fill that will hold things in place. Now, as we discussed, I'm standing on original soil over here, okay? And then up there at the rock, that's original soil as well. The only thing that we've constructed here is a long berm that's holding the bottom of this hill in place, and then established in such a way to reduce erosion. So again, we had a major storm. Hopefully I have some screenshots that I can put in of the storm over the area, as thunderstorm warnings, flood watch, that kind of thing. We have not had any problems. Now in the trail system, I haven't had a chance to walk the trail system. There are a couple areas I'm a little concerned about that we're going to do similar projects later. And then what you do see here, which is important to note, is this wet spot. So we are not damming water up, remember. We're not damming that water up. But if we have water at elevation, because remember, we shaved down this hill, if we have water at elevation soaking into the soil, it is going to spring out. And so I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's a color change between the lighter color soil and then this soil down here that is moist. And that tells me that there's a little bit of spring activity. That's a hydrostatic activity where there's a lens of water under the ground that's pushing up through this area. It's not a big deal. It's something that might have already been there before we did the earthworks, but it's something to be mindful of, because we don't want to hold water back there. That's why we have the porous foundation. We're not holding water. That gravel is 8 inches deep, 6 inches deep, compacted, but it has enough gap and space that it could have water in it for a period of time. So we're slowing and spreading the water, soaking it into the ground. Where is it going to come out? It's going to come out right there. And so it may also come out downhill in the form of a spring. That's the excitement of this. Now, the reason we dig that big trench, and if I remember, I'll put the video link in the description, but there's like a big trench under this. And that's why we dig that trench, to kind of key the bund in place so that we are pushing that water underground, and it'll come out someplace else. It'll come out further away. But in this case, it has come out just a little bit. It's just moist ground. It could be left over from it raining earlier last night, early in the morning. But folks, I hope you're getting useful information. I don't want you to sit there on your couch with your hand in your pants thinking about this stuff. I want you to get out there, either attend a class or start working on your project. It doesn't matter if your land is hilly, if it's mountainy, if it needs roads. The concepts that we're teaching you here work in all kinds of situations. If I wanted to extend this earthworks here all the way across to over where that tree is, actually when that tree comes down, the elevation there is a little bit higher than where I'm standing. And so if I were to go ahead and extend this whole earthworks platform as the back of our courtyard space, It's not a problem. We know how to do it. I'm demonstrating we know how to do it. I'm demonstrating that you can do it. I'm demonstrating that we now have created space where we had an awkward hill. Scott Vernon of the Sustainable Homestead Institute came over here and forest mulched some of this stuff. We've had some other guys come over here and forest mulch. So we haven't even removed any of the biomass that was originally here. It's all still here. I'm going to be cutting firewood off of that little pile down on the bottom there for years. I'm going to be pulling poles and building materials out of some of the other piles. But we haven't lost our woods and the pick that's there for the animals. Now, you have to do this maintenance that I'm discussing here. And I'm going to real quick walk up here since we're connecting the dots. Remember, we're looking at patterns. I see soft silt soil here that deer have stepped in. Where did it come from? So we're going to go up the watershed, and I'm seeing more exposed rocks. Okay, and it doesn't matter if we're doing this on acres or we're doing it on feet. I see exposed rocks, and then I see a wet section right here. Look at that. There's a little bit of my shadow in here. There's a little bit of a wet section here. But this wet section is not a problem because it's on a level space, and these rocks, once they heat up, all that kind of stuff will evaporate. Now also, when I get over here, do I have any soft spots? I have some areas where water's settled, but again, we have that bund on the outside. We have that mulch that's getting heavier and heavier as we put it in. But I'm not too concerned about that. Not too concerned about the mulch because we got little bits of grasses coming through it. How about we get around on this end? Do we have another corner that's a little bit moist? And yes, we do, and I see deer prints in it. Now, this is a lot more moist. Why? Let's look at the patterns. We got the deer print. Looks a little glossy and wet in that clay. But we also have a change in solar aspect. So this corner is going to be wet. Why is this corner going to be wet? Because it gets shade about midday. Now you can see the grass is growing much stronger over here. That's great. And that tells me that the other grasses were burned out due to the heat. Again, you can do this. You can design. I forgot the plastic. I have to get that before I leave. Remind me before I leave to pick that up and take it back to the truck. Okay? We don't drive on any of the roads within 72 hours of a storm event. And early this morning, there's a heavy storm coming in, so I didn't drive back here. But here's my bigger point. Do you see how it's maintained the moisture? So now if we put the containers up here, and let's say we have a little kitchen area in the middle here, where do we want to drain that kitchen area's gray water? Do we drain it onto this top area? No, because we don't want to accumulate moisture here. Do we drain it over here? No. We actually going to have to take a pipe all the way out there into the wooded area, dig a sump, and process our gray water. Okay, that's kind of a trick question. You always process your gray water. Or if I'm sitting out here in lawn chairs in my boxer shorts and a t-shirt, looking at the woods and relaxing, because remember, this is going to all grow out with green, where do I want to set my lawn chair? Well, do I set it here where we have shade and moisture? Or do I set it over there where the ground is a bit drier? Again, we're looking at patterns. We're building earthworks to increase our accessibility to the land, our availability to our workspaces, to help us set up the agricultural buildings that we need, the agricultural space. Right now, today, I could be parking tractors on this. I don't have a tractor. Don't plan to get one. But again, that's how the design works. And then we've got, of course, the original tree system over there, which we're going to get fenced in with some temporary fences to let some goats clean that up. This little hill area here, we're not too worried about it. We'll keep harvesting clay out of it until we eventually either shave off the whole cap and make this a big 120 foot by 240 foot compound, which I'll talk about in the next video. And ultimately, we keep growing on. So I've got the containers on order. I'm waiting for confirmation on delivery. I'm confident coming in here within 72 hours of a rain event that a truck could get in here easily and roll off those containers. They're 20-foot containers. 2 of them will be on a roll-off. And all I got to do is get my blocks in place and get them leveled for where I want those containers. Folks, again, you can do this too. You can design. We can help you. You can build. We can show you how. It all starts at www.prosperityhomestead.org, and you can be confident that I'm not going to be the only one there teaching you. We've got operators, we've got permaculture design consultants, we've got other people in a network of expertise to help you start and fulfill your homesteading dreams. Again, thanks for watching. Be sure to submit your questions below, and you can visit the website for additional resources at www.prosperityhomestead.org.